You're listening to 15 Minutes, where we feature community leaders sharing what the rest of us should know but likely don't. Hi, Chad Franzen here, one of the hosts of Share Your Voice, where we talk with top-notch law firms and lawyers about what it takes to grow a successful law practice. This episode is brought to you by Gladiator Law Marketing, delivering tailor-made services to help you accomplish your objectives and maximize your growth potential. To have a successful marketing campaign and make sure you're getting the best ROI, your firm needs to have a better website and better content. Gladiator Law Marketing uses artificial intelligence, machine learning, and decades of experience to outperform the competition. To learn more, go to gladiatorlawmarketing.com, where you can schedule a free marketing consultation. Ashley Cohen is managing partner of the Bonjean Law Group, a national criminal defense and civil rights litigation firm. Since joining the firm in 2014, she has assisted in the exonerations of over 15 men who were wrongly convicted of crimes that they didn't commit. She has obtained over $20 million in settlements and/or verdicts for civil rights plaintiffs. She's also the partner and right hand to Jennifer Bonjean, the attorney responsible for getting Bill Cosby's conviction overturned. They currently represent several high-profile individuals such as Cosby, R. Kelly, and Harvey Weinstein. Hey, Ashley, great to have you today. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, tell me, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Long Island, New York.
When and how, if so, while growing up, did you know that you wanted to be an attorney?
I always knew I wanted to help people. I found myself in situations where I was typically advocating for the underdog. I had a boyfriend in high school who wouldn't do well in his classes or didn't do his homework. And I was always going in to the teacher and trying to convince them to give him another chance. Or, I had friends who would get called into the principal's office and I would be the one in there, like advocating, defending them. So I knew there was something in me that wanted to definitely advocate for people who were not being advocated for. And as I got older, it was my freshman year of college in Wisconsin that I began learning about wrongful conviction work. I actually took a criminal justice in America class. It's probably one of the only classes and teachers I truly remember. And I learned about actually Stephen Avery's case, who is now the star of Making a Murderer. And I was like, that's what I want to do. So from my freshman year of college, I knew I double majored in legal studies and sociology. I got a criminal justice certificate, and my entire path from there was all geared towards wrongful conviction work and eventually civil rights as well.
Would you say that growing up in Long Island has helped you in this profession? Like in Colorado, where I'm from and where I grew up, I guess New Yorkers are regarded as more direct. Maybe in Colorado, where you might, try and sidestep certain things, whereas in maybe Long Island or New York, you're like direct and you're like ready to attack.
Maybe, I guess so. Although I do not come from a family of lawyers. I know nobody in my family is a lawyer. None of my friends really became lawyers. So I don't really know what it is about Long Island or New York, besides my bluntness and my crassness and my directness. So,
You told us how you got inspired by how you got your passion for criminal defense. How did you get started in the legal industry post law school?
So actually, funny story. My professor in law school, she was an adjunct professor, and I did a criminal defense clinic with her. And after a while, I was like, I knew I wanted to do wrongful conviction work, but I didn't. I also started really liking civil rights work. Suing Section 1983 cases, holding people, police officers in the city responsible for, failing to discipline, failing to supervise their officers, and just really police brutality cases. So I told my professor, and she's like, I have somebody that I want to introduce you to. She actually went against Jenny, my partner, in a case out in New Jersey. And she put me in touch with Jenny during my summer going into my third year of law school, I started interning for the Bonjean Law Group then. And I started, you know, I built a website. I did all social media. I was getting credit for class. Basically anything and everything that I could do to make myself of use at the firm I was doing. And I've been with her ever since. I'm almost on my 10th year now.
Wow. So you basically started as kind of a jack of all trades type college student intern type person, and then you just worked your way up to partner.
Yes, that is true.
Did you was the firm representing the types of clients then as it is now, the same types?
So my partner Jenny is she started her career doing appeals in Illinois, and she also did a lot of wrongful conviction work. I would say a lot of it at the time was more civil rights based. Like in New Jersey, we had this niche. They were using canines in Atlantic City to apprehend disorderly conduct people or minor offenses, and we had about 8 cases simultaneously pending when I came in. So she kind of was focused there. And then the exoneration work in Illinois just really took off. She's always been a brilliant appellate attorney, and it really just showed as of over the last 10 years, we've gotten an enormous amount of exonerations. We're a 2-person, I mean, right now we have an associate and just the 2 of us, but we're a really small firm. Since I've been working for her, we've never had more than 4 attorneys at a time. So the work that we do now, she started representing Mr. Cosby back in, I want to say 2018, maybe. And once she got his conviction tossed and overturned, we got more business from a higher profile clientele. And it's now turned into also civil defense, where they opened up these look back windows, and people are suing for misconduct that happened in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. And, even though that's not typically what we were doing, it really does come full circle, because it's really stripping somebody of their constitutional guarantees and their right to an attorney and their right to a defense. And, how do you defend something that you did from 1972? I mean, you just can't. And so fundamentally, it really all kind of stems from the same area. We're very much, pro the Constitution, pro rights, and we really believe that people deserve fair representation and everybody should be treated the same. So, it's a weird development of how it's, come about, but it makes sense in my mind.
Sure.
And she's the best. I mean, we're the best people for the job.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So can you tell me or us about a particular case that you've been a part of, since 2014 that stands out to you, that you're proud of, or that's particularly memorable?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I mean, prior to COVID, we were doing trials probably once a year. They were mostly civil rights trials out in New Jersey. We did a wrongful conviction case out in Chicago, in Illinois. Those were all really memorable. But honestly, first of all, my exonerations, the wrongful conviction cases, those are of course the most memorable. You're saving people's lives. You're getting them out of prison after 20 some odd years of, they've been in, they don't have a lot of family to come out to. So those are absolutely top tier, the most important, or most rewarding, I should say, cases, because it really is just helping people. And that's all I've ever really wanted to do with my career. But last year we did represent R. Kelly at trial in Illinois. And he was charged under a 13 count indictment. There were 7 not guilty. And it was the first time I had ever tried a pre-trial criminal defense case. So somebody who hadn't been convicted yet, although he was convicted in New York, he hadn't been convicted in Illinois. And it was just a really awesome experience. It was, not awesome, obviously, for him. He has a long sentence, but it was a very unique experience than what I had been used to. And I learned a lot doing that.
So, as I mentioned in your intro, you have been part of the exoneration of over 15 people who were wrongfully convicted of crimes. That's, just to somebody who's just kind of an observer, that's an astounding number, and that's just something that you've been a part of.
I should say it's not just exonerations. It's also, a case that's gotten dismissed after a post-trial motion or on appeal. It's been remanded, but exonerations are probably, I think, around 10 or 12. And Jenny and I, when I started, we were pounding pavement, investigating, driving all over the Midwest, talking to witnesses, flying to different states, and basically helping to expose the misconduct of a really bad officer who is out in Chicago, Detective Ronaldo Guevara. And he was responsible for framing, I don't even know the numbers. I know at least there's already been 40 exonerations because of his misconduct. So we, in the last 10 years, have been really working on those cases, investigating, other witnesses who were either forced to identify somebody or pick out of a lineup or provided false confessions. All of that, we really kind of started from, like, when I started, we were totally just investigating, like me and her knocking on doors, all different types of areas, wherever. And it led to a significant amount of exoneration, specifically for us. And a lot of our clients are victims of this bad cop. So that's helped.
So you were investigating just in general, not like on behalf of, a specific client or something like that.
Well, so we had these clients and all their allegations seem relatively similar. There's there's a young victim, a couple young victims, and then their testimony after they were, like, for instance, there's a case, a drive-by shooting. There's one person who's deceased, one person who survives. They're a young girl. They're about 15 years old. They are at the hospital and the police come to the hospital and they show them a photo and they say, this is the guy who did it, right? They're like, this is who did it. And they're like, oh yeah, that's who did it. And over time, their memories and their minds make them believe that that's actually who did it, but it's actually just the procedures that these officers were using were just manipulative, and they were, they were not sound procedures. So, or constitutional. So all these tactics, and that's just one example, but a lot of the tactics just were improper. And it's been exposed that a lot of these cases were linked to this officer who was doing this regularly, telling people who to point out in lineups, telling people this is who did it, messing with their brains. You're a traumatized 15-year-old girl. How do you, somebody comes in, a cop, and tells you this is who did it, you're going to believe them, and you're going to believe them 20 years down the road because you never knew anything different. So it's unfortunate, but there have been over the years a lot of people who have come forward and said, he told me who to point out, or he told me what to say, or and that's great. It's great. And we've been really successful at just tracking people down who had similar experiences, who could say, yes, Detective Guevara came and saw me and I was a crime victim, and he told me who did it and he told me who to point out, and I did. And now I feel guilty. I'm remorseful that I put somebody in prison that I shouldn't have. And, they come forward with their story. But it took a lot of time and a lot of investigating to get the affidavits and the testimony and everything. And there were other people working on it at the same time. The Exoneration Project has done amazing work, and Lovey. But, that was kind of what we were doing at the same time.
Is the investigation, like all the background work, is that kind of the key to your success, would you say?
I'd say it is I think it's very helpful that we are the type of people who do our own legwork. I think it's really important because we have the institutional knowledge of what these cases are about, why these victims and why these witnesses are all, you know, um, continuously identifying the wrong people, right? So we get the information firsthand from these witnesses, and it helps us understand why this was happening. It helps us put together our theories of cases and why, there was a pattern and practice of misconduct on certain officers and how they did it. And so, yeah, I think doing the investigation ourselves is super helpful. It's much easier to rely on your own memory and what you see and how you communicate with people than a random investigator you don't really know anything about.
What would you say is the key to your success, maybe like in the courtroom or something like that? And how have you evolved? Like, take me back to your first courtroom case. What were you feeling, and now maybe how you feel now going into a courtroom?
So I actually play a very niche role in what I do. I mean,
Mhm.
Jenny is I would say, how I describe it is she's like the actor and I'm like the producer. So she, is dramatic and fantastic and brilliant and theatrical. And I'm the one who keeps everything moving behind the scenes, and make sure it runs smoothly and make sure that she has everything she needs. And my brain is on her brain so that when she's like getting ready to pull up a document or needs something for a witness, like I am kind of right along with her, step. We're step in step with each other.
Mm.
I'm also super like creative and I'm younger. So I'm very much like, let me put a video on a PowerPoint, or let me do something that's going to kind of capture a jury or capture the room in a way that's different than just testimony, oral or otherwise. But I've definitely over the years seen myself getting more and more confident and comfortable. I'm very passionate about what I do. There's no question about that. So but I am not, I'm not the most fond of public speaking. So I
Mhm.
do get my moments of fear, but I'm okay being the role that I play. I feel like it helps run the show. So
So you guys are pretty kind of like work side by side. It's not like a divide and conquer type
no, we
operation.
are really side by side. I mean, we're trying to divide and conquer a little bit, but it's hard. It's hard.
Mhm.
We just have so many cases and we're both kind of control freaks in our own way. So we like to be on top of things. And I have FOMO and I don't like to miss anything. So, I like to at least be there and watch it go down, even if I'm not the one speaking or doing the advocating as much, in the eye of everybody else in the room.
Sure. Have you faced some challenges, as a result of being kind of a small, kind of a lean operation, but yet representing, the number of cases you do and the kind of the high profile type cases?
Yes, yes. We are spread way too thin. We represent individuals in New York, New Jersey, Illinois, California. We have had some in Kentucky, Pennsylvania. We're kind of all over. We're in federal court, we're in state court, we're on plaintiff side, we're on defendant side. We do appeals. I mean, the amount of rules that every court, every judge, every district, everything, like it's out of this world, like how much you need to actually know. And we're constantly just like learning new things. And it's hard. It's hard not having adequate, consistent support staff at all times. We do have an amazing paralegal, and we have a great associate. She's new, and that's helped. But we're still an 80 case load, or 80 to 100 cases of the amount that we do, because it's like very. I mean, you're not just walking into a criminal defense firm and you're having 80 cases that are all this, like not all the same, but the procedures are the same, right? You go to court, you do your arraignment, you do your, pretrial motions, everything is kind of the same. All with us, everything is different. No matter what case we're in, no matter what court we're in, everything's different. So it's a lot. And there's a lot of discovery documents that we have to review at all times. And that is very time consuming and very tedious. So we do it, but it's hard.
How has your interaction with victims of wrongful incarceration either influenced your approach to litigation, if it has, or just it kind of impacted you personally?
My clients are everything to me. They are family. We are all very close. And on top of helping get them out, we create bonds with our clients that help them, once they're out, get assistance that they wouldn't otherwise get. I mean, people always think, oh, you've been wrongly convicted, and now you're free. Yay. No, actually, it's actually much more difficult for people who have been wrongly convicted, because they're not reporting to a probation officer or parole officer. They're not required to get jobs. They don't have the family. They've been in prison for 20 some odd years. They don't know how to use a cell phone. They don't know how to use a computer. They don't even have a social security card, all those things. And I specifically make it a priority to really handle a lot of that. I've always appreciated the concept of helping people reenter into society, and anything that we can do for our clients, we do, and we love all of them, and they love all of us, and it's like a family. I mean, we really are just like a close knit group, and it's nice.
That's not something people usually think of, the difficulties of re-entering society. Is there like a standard process that you have?
No, honestly, it's different for every person. I mean, some people do have family members who are able to help them better than others, but I've always kind of envisioned maybe one day setting up a nonprofit or some sort of program to help, because I feel like it's so needed. And it's not just for people who were wrongly convicted. I mean, people who come out of prison in general, who have, after years, I mean, even someone like a veteran, like people who really just are not in tune with what they need to do for themselves to get back on their feet, I've always found really important. And my clients who have been wrongly convicted usually come to me for that kind of assistance.
And there was one case, as I was kind of looking at your bio, that stood out to me as kind of interesting. The shaken baby conviction. Can you tell me
Oh
about
yeah.
kind of how that was probably right around when you were first getting started. Can you tell me
Well, that
like
was actually, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. What?
yeah, just kind of about that. It was the kind of the first of its kind. Just tell me about that and your experience with it.
Yeah, that was actually from a clinic. It was a post-conviction innocence clinic that I did when I was in law school with Adele Bernhard, who is married to Peter Neufeld, who is the partner of Barry Scheck, and they do all the Innocence Project work. And I worked on that case in my clinic, and I mean, shaken baby syndrome, now they're saying the science is completely just, it's not accurate at all. It's sad to even think that there are people in prison for some junk science that says that shaking a baby, can kill them. Not that that's not possible, but it's just not as prevalent or not as easy as people were making it out to seem. So that was a really interesting experience. We just that was before I was even a lawyer. That was when I was in law school, and it was a good outcome. So I was happy about that.
Yeah, that's good. How has representing high profile individuals affected the way you guys do things, or do you have to try to not let that affect kind of the integrity and objectives of the firm?
So when I started working for Jenny, we were like, let's be cutting edge. Let's be lawyers who are more in the media, who are more, because lawyers at that time were not. They kept their lives private. They weren't on TikTok doing all these legal, all this everything now that is like fancy lawyers do. But we wanted to. So, we had a pretty intense website. There were photos of us, and I had an Instagram, and all that stuff we were doing before high profile clients came around. And then once the high profile clients came around, it seems like it's I like we're doing it less almost, because we're just getting so much attention by anything we post, either positive or negative, that it's just like, okay, this is just like, it's not even worth doing it anymore. But you just get a couple DMs or some tweets every now and again. It's nothing crazy. The people are very typically really kind and receptive and supportive of our efforts, and that's just the best we can hope for.
So when somebody like Bill Cosby gets exonerated or whatever, that's probably pretty controversial. Does that affect the number of people who are like mad?
Yeah, we've definitely gotten some hate email. We've definitely gotten some emails that were not nice about how could you get him out of prison and blah, blah, blah. Honestly, we don't even bother with that. We don't even give it the time of day. He did not deserve to be in prison in the first place, and we're glad that he's out. So, and we are going to always think that and stick to that. So, what I think, I forget who told me this. One of my parents must have said, what other people think about me is none of my business. So I don't really care.
Very nice. Very nice. I just have one more question for you, but first, just tell me, I guess, if people want to find out more about Bonjean Law Group, tell me how they can do so.
Yeah, so we have a website, www.bonjeanlaw.com. We're on Twitter at Bonjean Law Group. We're on Instagram at Bonjean Law. I think it's Bonjean Law or Bonjean Law Group. I should know that. But we're not hard to find. Just make sure you're looking at our real account, not a fake account that's pretending to be us and supporting some of our high profile clients.
Sure.
And we'll never ask for money, so don't send it.
Okay. So last question for you. At the risk of putting you on the spot, do you have any advice for aspiring attorneys who are interested in, helping people with wrongful convictions or with civil rights?
My advice would be, if you like this work, you need to put your all into it. You can't just be half in, half out. This is not a 9 to 5 job. I answer phone calls for my clients at all times, whenever. I work 20-hour days. Sometimes I work, I love what I do. And if you're not going to be passionate and advocate and really feel good about it, then it's probably not worth your time. So pick something else.
Okay. Hey, Ashley, it's been great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So long, everybody. Thanks for listening to 15 Minutes. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.